You know what Shantytown needs? A dice tower and a dice tray. So if you've seen the other video, as far as making a post-apocalyptic board, I wanted to add a dice tower and a dice tray. So I went on Thingiverse, found that he did have a dice tower, but he didn't have a dice tray, so I put that together too. So let's show you. I want to show you how I did it. All right. So the first thing you're going to do, I have this foam. I think I got it at Walmart. It was like nothing. It's these big sheets, and what you want to do is just cut it down to the size that you need. Now, I don't know what size your palette is or what size your dice tray is. So what I did was I measured it where it's going to be cut a little bit bigger than the hole that it's going to go into. And the reason is you'll see that as I put it on top of the canvas here, I want to slip it underneath the pieces to hold it in place. So there you go. It's a little bit bigger. So now what I did was I had to print up some of what they call the shanty bridges. And what I use is, for me, I use the Chep. I use all of his profiles. It really is really good, and you'll see that it's going to take a little while to print up. But I use that, and 4 at a time is good. All right. I think I did about 12 of these because I use them also as bridges. All right. So here we go. There's the bridges right there all printed out. Now, at the time, I had the white filament, so I was using that. I love these things, man. They're really good. You can use it for anything. Once you paint them up, you'll see once they're painted up, they look like any kind of corrugated metal or, something like that. And they really take the weathering really good. So now what I'm doing, I'm just kind of doping it out. In the old days, I used to just kind of slap things together, 1, 2, 3. But if you notice, I'm taking my time dry fitting it. That's a big deal here. So now you'll see that some of the pieces are big. There's that bottom right-hand corner. There's a little piece missing. So what I'm going to do is I want to cut these to fit into place. Now what's great about this stuff is it's not so thick, but it's not so thin. And it's right in the middle where it needs to be. Come on, Coach, put your frickin' hands in it. And you can cut them out a little bit. So you'll see that I try to cut through. Usually works great with the scissors, but this little piece there, it's giving me a hard time. So what I do is go to old trusty screw cutters, like butter, right there. And we got a piece that'll fit there. And, just start fitting pieces in. Now, what I did was I just went to hot glue. I was thinking of all different types and this and that. And I was like, you know what? I want to get this on because I want to get some primer on it. Okay, just fitting it up, trying to get the whole thing done. Same way, all the way around. Alright, so now what I'm doing is with the scissors, there were some really sharp edges that I didn't want to have as a dice tray. When they're individually, like as the bridges and stuff, you can kind of avoid that. But I wanted to make sure that I'm not, anytime anybody grabs it or myself grabbing it, the sharp edges, just got to get rid of them. So you just, take a little bit here, a little bit there, make sure it's safe. And there's the final product, ready to be primed. All right, so through the miracle of science, I went outside and I primed it, and then I painted it silver. What I do is I use 2 different silvers. So I already put a base coat of silver down, and what I do is I dry brush a little bit. It's a little bit brighter. So unfortunately, guys, I don't have the first part of it, but there we go. You guys know how to dry brush, right? Put a little bit of paint on it, wipe it off on a on a paper towel or something, just so you get all the good stuff off, and then you go to town with it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash it. I made a wash with some ink and some of the gloss, some matte medium, and this is my personal wash that I made, because if you're going to use a whole Nolan oil on this, you're going to use half the pot and you're going to waste it. So this stuff works out pretty good. It's my own little batch here. I've got it. I think it's Les's recipe, Les Bursley's recipe. It's awesome. All right, so here's another thing. I got this from Kenny Boucher, man, one of the really good painters out there. And you just take a little bit of the Riser Rust. I love this stuff, the GW stuff. It's basically a thick orange paint, but what you do is you add a little water to it, and you make a sludge or a slurry out of it, okay? And when you get the consistency you want, it really, really does a nice job. All right, so got the consistency I wanted. There it is. That's just a bottle cap that I use. I either put miniatures on them with the blue tack, or I use them to mix up the paint like this. So you can do whatever you want. This is my favorite part, weathering. You can go crazy with it. Now with this, I'm not thinking about where the water would run or where it would rust. I'm putting it where I think it looks good. All right, where I'm going to just start, a little bit here, a little bit there. Less is more is less. You can go crazy, man. Let your creative juices flow and do what you got to do. I got to tell you, though, I love putting the weather on it. It's just, for me, this is what I got into modeling for, just to weather up stuff. All right, so this is the 2-point process. That's just an old sponge there, stick it in the Riser Rust, straight in the Riser Rust, and you basically dry brush it. So you take it, put some on there, and just go around. With this, I would suggest a little bit at a time. You don't want to do the whole thing. You want to make it look presentable, not so much rust where it's overpowered, but not too much rust. That's what I was going for here. If you want to do a whole rusted piece, by all means, go for it. And there we go. Totally rusted, weathered, ready to go. All right, so I had an idea. I want to do a little freehand on the mat. So I was trying it. The green didn't really work out. So then what I did was I cut the same shape out of a black piece of foam. And what I'm doing now is I'm just using some of the Badger Stynylrez white and just to put some stuff down. And I got an idea of what I wanted it to look like. With this is just freehand. I'm not really thinking about it, just putting stuff where I think I want to put it. I'm just spreading the white around everywhere where I think it would need to be because of what I have in store for the next step. Alright, so what I did here was I used some inks. I used some of the Badger green. It's their gloss coat, and I'm just going over it. A little bit of yellow. Some comes out yellowish, some comes out green. Just some different colors there, whatever you want to make it look better. And there we go. I think it's done. Now it's ready to be put into the dice tray. So next is the dice tower. So same thing. I got the file off Thingiverse, and what I use is the quick and dirty. The least amount of definition in it, the least amount of sharpness to it, but it really works good. Now, I did each one. They're about 7 hours a piece. Okay. What I've noticed too with Cura, my Ender 3 Pro, it's like 7.5 hours, but I'm done pretty close, just a little over 7. So each piece took about 7 hours, but hey, it looks great. And there's the dice tower afterwards, and what I want to do now is start to weather it up, paint it up, make it look the way it did in the other stuff to match Shantytown. So next step is, weathering it and everything like that. So I'm not going to repeat this. If you like, after the video, I'll leave a link to it, and you can go back and check it out. I'm painting it exactly the same way that I painted the original Shantytown. So what I'll do is link that, and you can go check that out. I give a more detailed way to do it in that video. But yeah, it's a ton of fun doing this stuff. I love weathering buildings. And so here is our tower, our shanty tower right here, which is fits in with all the rest of the stuff. Painted it basically like you saw, the same scheme as the Shantytown. But what's great about it is you can take this and bring it over here. Okay, remove the top, and we have, in conjunction with the dice tray, our dice tower. So looks like a rad pit. I think that's the way it is. What's also nice about the tower is, if I wanted to, I could split it up and put this over here. Just put a surface over here, or move this around and put this here, and put the top of it here. So now we have, going back, two separate buildings here. Not really towers, but a little shorter, but still taller than the Shantytown. So, it could be doing that. Also, if I wanted, do some of that to make some taller buildings. But then again, once you start going up, you got to print more, and that's all right. I don't mind printing more. All right, guys, this was a really fun project. I appreciate you sticking around. If you want to see more great videos like this, why don't you consider subscribing? And we also have a Patreon page. We have a Discord server, which we talk about this, specifically modeling and painting. Like, rate, comment, subscribe. Appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.